Okay, welcome everyone to the round 5 SpaceChem video. This week we are discussing crab walk. So this is a production level, and there's one special thing about it is that the inputs are cycle rate 1 input every cycle instead of every 10. So this is just an interesting feature that Community Edition's added in the past couple of years and allows for... Oh, I'm not streaming. That's yes.
Yeah, you want to share your screen?
Yeah, there it is. I knew there was something. I checked. I was like, OBS, SpaceChem. Yeah. Okay. I always do that. All right, there you go. Anyway, so yeah, the idea with crab walk is, I actually, believe it or not, generated this molecule, or a very similar molecule to this with the random generator project I had a few years back, and I tweaked it a bit to make sure they couldn't be too easily isomorphismed, and that was basically the core idea where this crab shape came from. And then I tried to find a puzzle that would involve that. So yeah, basically this level you need to sort chlorine and iodine really fast and then create this crab shape really fast because you want to keep up as closely as you can to the high input rate. So without further ado, let's look at the first solution. So we have cornflakes, which is, check my link, or kitkinzer, and UsernameVoid. So let's take a look. So this is going to be laid out with the sorting done first and going to the other reactor. Another common pipe layout that we'll see later is having one reactor directly receive boron and one of the products. But this one, it's going to receive both, and the boron will also be going to the first reactor. So let's see, we time blue to arrive with red without having to wait on a sink, and then we're going to pass out boron iodine / boron chlorine pairs to the second reactor, and the second reactor is going to put them together. So this does take a little bit of advantage of the input rate. I think this is a cycle loop. Was this 16, 12? Yeah, 16 cycle loop. So it's only it's receiving inputs every 8 cycles instead of every 10, like with normal production levels. And let's see what we do in the second reactor. So this is going to, basically just construct half of the final shape and then repeat. So one thing you'll notice is that it's got these extra boron. That's because one aspect of this level is the titanium needs to be fused up from chlorine. But it's just a simple boron fusion, so it's not too bad. And then we've got half our shape perfectly. And the final reactor, all it has to do is flip it over and put it together, not too hard. And blue's just going to stall an output for an extra cycle save there. Yep. And exactly 100 symbols. And this will come in at 1329 cycles. Alright, very nice. And let's take a look at JFB 1337, who did not have 1337 cycles, but pretty close. And this is going to be the more common layout, which I think almost everyone used, is putting the boron into its own reactor so that you can have the sorting not also need to do the boron construction, which will allow for some speed ups. And this is going to be the main idea of this level in the sorting. This is a very common technique that you'll see in fairly optimized solutions, is building a stick from the input zone and then attaching to the back using bonding and only working from this end, so that you only have to have the Waldos move around near the output zones. So you see each one gets constructed like that. But taking a look at the specifics here, so blue just assists with the construction of the stick and pulls it over, and then we enter an alternating 8 and 6 cycle sorting loop. So whenever it's an iodine, it'll be 8, and whenever it's chlorine, it'll be 6. Apart from that, it's pretty simple. Just, attach, debond, and sort. And blue will again stall an output like the previous solution. And let's look at our reactor 2. This is also basically a 1 Waldo solution. Oops, reactor 2. So again, this is the nuclear reactor, which receives the iodine, and the chlorine will go directly to the last reactor. This way we can make a larger construction with the boron. So here we go. we're just going to output, so we need that extra boron for fusing into the chlorine, so we're just going to output that, and otherwise it's pretty similar to the last solution with in the shape that it outputs. Nice and easy, and last reactor will be sticking them together and then fusing up. I actually skipped past the fusion there. If I can get the right cycle, there we go. So it just comes in and fuses in place. Very nice. One extra error here, because they wanted... No, the symbol count isn't particularly special, but they just wanted to put an extra arrow to annoy me. Fair enough. There always has to be one extra error every week, apparently. At least. Alright. And that'll be good for 1320 cycles. So 9 cycle save, actually, very close. Race there. And next is Counterpoint with Take 2. I forgot to mention the name of the previous solution was Crab Sticks, which is, I believe, a reference to fish sticks from the story. Next is, yeah, Counterpoint with Take 2. Yeah, I really should have named the level fish sticks, or crab sticks, shouldn't I? Alright, this is, I don't think I've seen this one yet. Is this a recent submission? Alright, so what do we got going on here? This is going to build the stick from this end, and then Blue's going to deal with it. Okay, here we go. So we have a alternating, what was this, 6 and also 6 cycle loop. So yeah, this is every, or the sorting takes 6 cycles, so to get all 4 of them, we'll take a total of 24 cycle loop. Will be the average rate. And, oh, what's going on here? This is interesting. Okay. So, Brookie with I really like imitation crab salad in the chat.
Hey!
I'm going to try and move this window over 1 second. Okay, there we go. You can see the chat now. So here we go. We're going to build this zigzag out of the boron using after getting the chlorine, and hand off so that Red can get back to its star more quickly. And look at that nice fuse drop. And that'll get us, how do we use this zigzag is the question. Okay, I think actually that was pretty much it. So yeah, a zigzag, and then we will fit them together, probably, yeah, just slot them into each other. Some amount of rotation and carefully getting onto the other bonder. Yep. And dropping out. And that's all it takes. Very nice. And yeah, this reactor has a larger loop because it's dealing with the output product, which means it can afford twice the size loop to construct. And that'll be 1060 cycles, a big jump down because of that initial sorting loop. So that's the initial sorting loop is the big factor for until we get down to the absolute minimums where we have some latency tie breaks. But yeah, this only 6 cycle loop this time instead of 8/6. Next we have mstang with Here We Go. Let's see. Ooh. Alright, so I think this is going to be, yeah, so this is something that a lot of people did, is there's a chlorine shortage around, I think people said cycle 160, because like 5 iodines come in a row, or some such. So what a lot of people did is they just pull a couple of iodines out of the way at the start and just ignore them for the rest of the solution. And that'll avoid this particular shortage later, because the balance bucket will be shifted over. Instead of every being balanced in 12s, it'll be balanced, well, still in 12s, but with part of the previous bucket in any given sorting. Okay, so we build the stick, and now we have this extremely tight loop here, which is going to be, I think, 4/6. Am I right? No, sorry, this is just 6. Because this will go up and straight down, and this one will come around. Yeah, so they're both 6. Oh, sorry, of course, because blue's on 6. Yep. Very compact, and yeah, that'll be good for another 6 cycle alternating, and then we do the same idea where we put one of them into the boron reactor. And how are we going to build the boron shape this time? The more standard shape. Oh, not quite actually. It'll fuse into the top, so it'll create a triangle, and the last reactor should have plenty of time to stick those halves together. So yeah, the main crux of these solutions is always, for the throughput at least, is for the sorting reactor basically determines what throughput you're at. And after that, it's kind of a latency race to get the last reactors to do everything in time. All right, and here's our last reactor with, basically because we have this triangle shape, we have to stick the iodine on the end there. And that's what we'll do. And an easy enough pair of bonds with one rotate required, though. Oh, sorry, it's not required, but one rotate added in for to drop sooner. Very nice. All right, and that'll be good for 104 symbols and 1029 cycles, so 30 cycle save. Next is Astronelson with Crab Beask. a lot of crab puns or crab references. Okay, what's going on here? This is a little hard to look at, but clearly it's just a 6 cycle loop, and it's because of this bounce back sensor for the drop. Very nice. And red is going to move it downwards. I think that's going to help the next reactor. That wasn't strictly necessary before doing the output, but this way, let's see, we have it one lower so that we don't have to move up as far, I assume. Yeah. So that was just a small thing that, since red had some extra time, they used red to shift the output somewhere more convenient. And then we have the standard shape, and we'll throw that to the... Oh, sorry, have I skipped something? No. Yeah, I have. The actual boron reactor. Here it is. So the chlorine gets sent to the second reactor, again with a fairly standard layout. And we're going to stick the chlorine in the square shape instead, but since we just have to fuse it, that results in the standard shape, and there we're into the last reactor with the standard construction. With a nice, what is this, 12 cycle loop? But with a sink, so it'll just match the previous reactors. Tomster commenting that actually sorting the stuff is the correct way to go. Is unfortunate, but yes. It is all about getting that sorting done as fast as possible. Alright, next is FieldArmada with IB4. Alright, similar layout, and I think we're... Oh, this is an interesting one, actually. I don't think I've seen this one either. So we're going to bring the stick upwards with our 6 cycle loop, because why not? And that'll allow us to operate up here right between the two output zones. And put the outputs as far over as we can. So this iodine's going to go all the way to the right, or it's pretty far to the right, and then chlorine will go higher up. So which one's getting sent to the bottom reactor? The iodine. Okay, we got a... Whoa, this is quite the double bump. Alright, so... Is this the one? No, it's going to build halves. Okay, yeah. Was the double one necessary for latency? I'm not sure. So I feel like this could have been done with a smaller... But I guess this lets you pass it over as far as you can before outputting. Oh, and blue has time to flip it over to standardize. Okay, so it's kind of helping the last reactor construct more easily. Okay. But yeah, this is again the standard construction method, and sending that extra boron out. So here's, let's see how the last reactor does this. Okay, so that was why the previous reactor wanted to flip these over, which required double pumping to keep up, was so that they could just both be inputted in place like this, which is kind of nice. And then we're just going to do fuse, flip over, and fuse the other side. And we're good to go. Yeah, I see. So Tomster's, or sorry, FieldArmada is that Tomster? Okay, yeah. So anyway, FieldArmada commenting that he was worried that it would be a hassle later, so tried to make the pairs. Or sorry, am I mixing up names here? Anyway, someone in the chat. Yeah, you're not FieldArmada. Okay, that's discussing another solution. Anyway, so this is just prepping a lot of work to make the last reactor nice and simple, where you just build in place and then fuse up. And this will be good for 1001 cycles, not to be confused with the Dalmatians. YellowBunny with, excuse me, YellowBunny, this is, I believe, the metric score, so this is going to be a big jump down to, I think, the 800s. And how do we do that? So this is, again, it's going to be the crux, is how do you do this sorting quickly. So here we go. We have an alternating 6 and 4 cycle loop. So this is going to be down to 20 cycles per output instead of 24. And we achieve that with this bounce back on red to be 6 sometimes, but the rest of the time it'll just be 4, just this tight loop. And blue will handle moving it upwards. So yeah, that 2 Waldo assistance to get the extra move upwards. Alright, and we'll send the chlorine, I think, was it? No, the iodine to the boron reactor. And this is going to be a 12 cycle loop, I think. Oh, sorry, 10 cycle loop. How do we do this? Standard construction, and then flip over. Okay. And the handoff to achieve not having to double pump, but still getting low loop size. Okay, and the last reactor will flip it over, yeah, with careful fuse into the titanium to create titanium from the chlorine, which is conveniently at the top of this box. Always important to pick the right pipe to send in so that it's near the top, not the bottom. And with that, we can get both the bonds done at once, and we're done. Alright, so with that faster sorting method, this will come in at 841. And so we're still not at the point where we have to worry about latency like with regular productions. It's still all about optimizing the throughput. But we'll see soon. We start running to the wall of how do you sort even faster. Precognition free since 2021. This is a reference to precognition. This solution does in fact use precognition. This is a fun one, which is when you know the inputs that are coming and have one Waldo, hard code that. All right, so red's doing kind of standard stuff, apart from getting the iodines out of the way like some other solutions do, to deal with the chlorine shortage. And now blue is, so I think the idea here is, red's in this tight sorting loop, and the idea was that blue was just going to occasionally come grab some and help out whenever there was time. So blue's just going to, all these sensors kind of just like randomly help determine based on what was necessary, what the exact timing is on red, so that it never collides with red. And then blue's going to come in, grab something, find the time when it's safe to insert into the same drop point, and work its way in. And then the next time, a custom sensor will, if I remove this, then it'll collide with red eventually. You can see right around here. That next one. I forget. Eventually it's going to collide with red if we remove any of these extra tweaks. There it is. Or, collide with red's timing on the input commands. So, yeah. Lovely hard coding here by DariusOne. Would crash with bad input sequence. Not really precognition, DariusOne says, but okay, yeah, so it's not exactly dependent on an individual atom being correct, but if the overall sequence changes, it could break. So by certain definitions we use for the wiki, this would not be precognition, perhaps. But yeah, it's definitely very complicated timing because of all these, timing these, the 4/6 cycle timing based on what atom red is sorting, I guess. All right, and this will slightly improve. Yeah, so what do we got? This is 6 and 4 loop for red, like before, but now blue's adding a few extra, so I think this worked out to, what's the loop size? Might be easier to look at the last reactor. Yeah, here it is. So that'll be 4, 4, 10, 12 cycle loop. Is that right? Doesn't sound right. Oh, sorry, yeah, this is the boron constructing reactor, that's why I'm confused. Yeah, this is the 12 cycle loop, and then this one's just going to be waiting on the inputs. And it will be 4, 4, 16, 17, that sounds better. 17 cycle loop. Alright, so here we go, let's look at what we're doing in this reactor. So red is going to be timing because we didn't want to use sinks. Red's going to time carefully to match blue. Blue's also timing. So I guess, yeah, they're just delaying until the first reactor, first input comes, which takes a while because of the stick construction method. And, oops, let's do that. All right, there we go. There we go. And here we go. Okay, so we're gonna build, so in this solution, we're gonna build all of the borons at once in the second reactor instead of just half. And get the titaniums in and send it out. And there's enough time for this because, well, with careful handing off, there's enough time. And you're doing and also because you're doing 2 atoms per loop, as long as you're keeping up with the rate that the chlorines come in, you're fine. And let's see how we deal with this in the last reactor. Oops, already done. There we go. Between 17 and 18, yeah. Because this will be 17, and then it took a while to catch up, I guess. Is that right? Rotate, okay, yeah, bond, rotate, and then fix the bonds in the middle here, and that's it. We create this kind of spaceship shape. Also, this, I guess it's just a loop, but it's funny, this little star shape. Where am I confused here? Hold on. How does, oh, red delays on an input, doesn't it? Why does, yeah, I was trying to figure out why blue has an odd loop and red has 2 rotates exactly. It also hits the rotate twice, that's why. Doesn't it? No? It's this one once. Where's the stall? Is it on that input command? Yeah, it's on that input command. That's why blue has to delay sometimes. Alright. Yeah, these are a little confusing at times, but alright. Yeah. Nice. I like this second reactor and this crazy speed up with the blues paths going everywhere. Alright, this will be good for 740 cycles. This is actually a pretty big jump down with that extra sorting assistance. And next is Crab by JoJo, with pipe spelling out crab. Spelling things with pipes is a classic. And also filling these with crab because you like crabs apparently. We're going to pull out 2 iodines like before. And this is, yeah, I think, all right, we're down to the fastest sorting method that I think anyone has found, including me, which is an 8-cycle loop on each double pumped, on each Waldo. So this is going to get us down to 4 cycles per atom, basically. So in total, we're going to get 16 cycles per molecule. Oh, sorry, did I say? Oh, it's Dariush, not DariusOne. My bad. I've been mispronouncing that for all these videos. Okay, so yeah, the previous solution was by, or further back was by DariusOne here, or next one, next page. Anyway, we'll get to that. Anyway, so sorry about that, JoJo. So this solution is, yeah, going to use 16 cycle total loop size, and we're sorting into the iodine to the second reactor. Nope, the chlorine. I keep clicking the wrong pipe. Let's just look at our pipes again. Yeah. Alright, and we're going to carefully time our first input to match the timing, so we save the cycle off of that, or so. And how do we get this done? We're going to build, this is an interesting one. It builds a large shape which is not going to be isomorphism compatible, but we're going to fix it in the last reactor. So here we go, chlorine into the boron, and we'll do that one more time, and then output that as quickly as we can. So this will give us an awkward shape to deal with, but it does get our chlorines, our borons and titaniums built fast enough to keep up with that first reactor. And now, how do we deal with that in the last reactor? How do we fix that? This is an interesting flip-flop arrangement of blue, but these are just going to bounce back to each other. Both these loops actually get used. So here we go. Input an iodine, input another one on the, break this in half because we had an awkward shape. Input the other iodine and add it to the end, and then flip it over. And now we're in the right shape. And once again, we built the spaceship. Very good. So the big question at this point is, how's the latency on the solution? So once you optimize that sorting, this becomes more like a regular production level where you're trying to optimize latency. And so we've got a lot of solutions that tied in the high 600s, or not tied, but fought over the high 600s. And the latency analysis is what I'll probably be bad at, but we'll do our best. So in this reactor, we're doing pretty standard stuff, so it's probably not too affecting latency too much. This one is going to, I think, is it when the sorting atoms come in is probably the big catch. So you can see from the time this last titanium comes in to when it's output, there's about 4 or 5 cycles here, and also the iodine, because depending on the random sequence, you're going to have potentially one or the other in the last possible timing for your loop. So I'd assume that this could potentially be a problem for when the last iodine comes in. So from the last iodine, we have to do a lot of carrying all the way over here up to the drop, so it takes actually a fair bit of time. And I think that's why this will be the lower of the latency solutions of the high 600s. So this will be 696. Or higher, I should say. And next will be British Boys, which is Monster Racer, Mattermonkey, and Britboy. And let's take a look. They have called this latency ? Copy. So yes, observing that in spite of the high input rate, this does eventually become a latency optimization once you've hit your minimum possible loop size. All right, so the standard loop pipe layouts, and here we go. What are we doing here? This is, yeah, again, a nicely symmetrical 8 cycle loops each, double pumped. Double pumped meaning both Waldos basically doing the same thing. And we will send, let me see if I got the right guess. No, I always guess wrong. Send the chlorine to the boron reactor. And look at this. This is going to be fun. So this is going to, again, build all of the borons at once instead of just half. And we're going to come all the way up here just to get that last fuse in, and now we've got this nice, almost, I mean, this is exactly the shape we want for the output. And all done really tightly with that tight input bonding loop. And then we do, carry it out. So, all right, let's look at this last reactor. So how do we get to the output as quickly as we can in this last reactor now that we've basically got everything we need done? We just need to attach to the ends. So here go, rotate, and here's the last one. And we're just carrying straight to the output, which is nice. All right. Oh, Jojo mentions there was actually some latency loss in the first reactor in the previous one. So I guess the sorting reactor can matter. But yeah, so this one, let's look at that first reactor compared to Jojo's. So Jojo was commenting in the chat that this reactor, there is a bit of delay because of what is it? These iodines pulled out and then waiting until blue comes all the way down. There's like 3 or 4 cycles lost actually is what really does it. So yeah, that ideally you'd want red to just continue and start sorting from here, but it's difficult to do that because you have to drop it, and blue is a little bit far away because of where it placed the iodines. But yeah, in this comparatively in British Boys solution we have, they both have to delay a bit, but a little bit less because there's no iodine pullouts, but that means they'll have to deal with the chlorine issue, which some people ran into, which is having not enough chlorines at a certain point. And I think that just means that possibly the latency had to be put far enough back that the chlorine, the lack of chlorine wouldn't cause a clog on an input command. Alright, but anyway, this is a nice direct output here, so it's not too bad as latency goes, but it's a bit hard to analyze when you have random inputs coming in exactly where what the bottleneck is on the latency. So yeah, I'll probably not be doing the most excellent of commentary on these latency issues, but here we go. So we saved 3 cycles of the previous. Let's go to Dariush with another game plug. This one is going to be, I believe he said, a visual novel. I'm not going to go to the Steam page and read your review this time or whatever, but since it's not exactly a Zachtronics game, but the title is Go Play Kimi to Kanojo no Koi. Alright, so there's your plug for the week, Dariush. And let's see how we do the sorting here. Okay, what's this? Oh yeah, because we have to make sure that we don't accidentally, or we have to fit all the commands in before we hit this grab. Okay, so that's why we have to do a little jog, and then we have the standard 8 cycle. Everyone has a slightly different layout for the 8 cycle loopish, but it's all basically the same idea. So, and here we go. Next will be the chlorine into the boron reactor. And there we go. Boom, boom, boom. Again, we're doing the same thing as the previous solution with a slightly different layout, but we're going to build both the titaniums in the exact shape that we would expect. And yeah, that's basically it, with a handoff to make sure that we don't have to bother double pumping unlike the previous one. So that'll actually save a lot of symbols, I believe, over the previous. Yeah, 157 versus 115 in case of ties. And how do we deal with that in the last reactor? Looks like it'll be, oh, okay, we're going to put the iodines here because that's actually the same isomorphism, because, you know, as long as you have the titanium and iodine one apart, there's the, you know, from a graph perspective, it's no different. And we have a clean, yeah, let's look at from when that last iodine got input. Where's the, how's that latency? Take a closer look. Right here, bond, rotate, drop, handoff. There's a few cycles in there, but not too much. And drop, and we're right done. And that'll be good for 691, another 2 cycle save. Next is gggol with pumping gives crabs. Oof. Bit of a innuendo there. Very sketchy title. All right, here we go. We're gonna pull 3 iodines out this time because I think that just worked out better for the chlorine clog later. And I guess I'm wondering if we could adjust this to remove the iodine removal. It would probably take some doing though, and then see how it crashes. Might be interesting, just to demonstrate what that chlorine shortage actually looks like. Yeah, I think it should be doable. Okay, let's do this, just for fun. We'll do that. Oh, maybe it's not. It might take a bit of doing to fix this, so maybe I'll skip it. But I think everyone who was solving this kind of ran into that at some point, or a lot of people did, and had to deal with it either by increasing the pipe sizes or the latency, or pulling iodines out to try and fix the problem. Yeah, some people are wondering what pulling through iodines would have done to their solution. Jojo says it saved 6 cycles-ish in his solution in the chat. Okay, anyway, so we have a standard 8-cycle loop. So I forgot to comment, but really the reason that the 8-cycle loop is the minimum here is because you have 7 essential commands. With this stick method, you have to have 1 debond and 1 bond. And you have to have your input and your output, and you have to have your grab and your drop, because you always have to be moving the stick over. There's, you know, some thought that maybe you could just debond and drop and output immediately in place with the one that's over top of the chlorine. But because you have to move the stick over, that doesn't really, you can't really save anything like that. You'll have to do a grab and drop anyway, unless you're managing, I don't know. There might be some ideas that could get to 14 to try and save these 2 empty cycles, but I think none of us could find it, so likely 8 is actually the minimum. Alright, and let's take a look. Maybe not likely, but seems like. Okay, so some standard stalling to get exact input timing to save 1 cycle, and here we go, we're going to do a squiggle, and then build our standard, not standard actually, this is going to put the titaniums on kind of an asymmetrical ends here. Look at that rotate, that was nice. Oops. That was dear. Boom, just misses. And dropping, we're just about done though. That output's going to get delayed. Does that matter to the latency? Because they wanted to start the construction right away, that's fair, but maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it's not the bottleneck. Because, yeah, it's probably the iodine's the bottleneck. So here's the last iodine. I kind of glossed over that, but here's how the last reactor works. How's our latency here? boom. There's the last input, so that's basically determining the timing, and rotate and drop. Not too bad. There's only like 4 cycles in there. So yeah, it's a bit hard to analyze, but we're gonna keep seeing these 3 and 10 cycle jumps for various reasons, or 3 to 5 cycle jumps, I should say. Next is ieeemayyv, which is IEEE and anningmay, same as last week, but they've also added vpumeyyv this week. Has joined them, and let's see what they came up with. Come to the dark side, we have extra iodium. Yeah, that's right, they did something fun here. I guess iodium being their term for molecules of iodine. I'm not sure if that's right, but okay, they did something interesting. So like the standard stuff, they're going to pull aside some iodines, but unlike the standard stuff, they're going to output it. And the second reactor is going to use that. Again, we have an 8 cycle loop here. This is all fairly standard, but let's look at what they're doing with the second reactor. Oh my goodness, Red's up to some funky stuff here. Okay, so we're going to chop off 1 iodine and actually use it for the first one. That's what we're going to do. And do we ever pick it up again? I think we might. No, maybe not. Was that it? Oh, we do. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so this one I would really need someone to be present to explain it to me, but I think somehow this saves on, like, it allows you to basically you want to speed up the latency on when the chlorines arrive by removing those from the sorting list, and that means that your chlorine pipeline is going to be faster, which is chlorine's going over here. Or sorry, over here. Oh, I skipped a reactor. That's why I'm confused. Yeah. So the chlorine's getting sent here, and you want this, like, this pipeline is like long, and you want the chlorine to arrive as fast as possible to get started. But when you remove those 3 iodines, you might also have iodine latency issues eventually. So I guess somehow they've saved latency by reusing those iodines instead of like jump starting the chlorine like sorting, but also using the iodines to actually get iodines at a reasonable rate instead of having to wait for when the next one arrives and have latency. That's my understanding of how this works, but I have not fully parsed this. This is really confusing. All right, so anyway, let's take a look at the second reactor first before we get to the hard part. So this is receiving the chlorine like usual, and we're going to create these triangle shapes. This one's going to be one where it splits in half. And then we get to this reactor where we do something funky with the iodine. Oops. There it is. Okay. So first one, debond, put in place for blue. So blue's job is super easy. Just create 1 stick and then wait for red to, or put in place, and then red can attach to it. So red came up, grabbed this, rotate, and finished off the bonds. Now how do we keep reusing this? Yep, again, grab the top of it, and then the last one doesn't get used. So we used 2 of the 3 iodines that we pulled aside to try and help our latency, I guess. So we didn't have to wait as long for them to come in. And then finally red enters a loop where it doesn't detect that there's extra iodine to be used, so it actually starts pulling in the iodines with an input command. Whereas before here it only did an alpha input. So yeah, I guess this must have saved a bit of iodine latency or they wouldn't have done it, but very, very creative stuff. Pulling aside, like throwing them aside to speed up the chlorine, but then pulling them back in to save a bit of latency in the iodine. This will come in at 681, a big 7-cycle jump, but we can do even better. And we have Andy with 16 cycle, or 16C as the solution name. All right, and this one's not going to do any pulling aside, I don't believe, but it'll do a standard 8-cycle loop with a nice bounce back by red to save a few symbols. And yeah, it doesn't look like there's any latency loss in this first reactor, that's for sure. Next we have the boron reactor. And we're going to do the approach we saw before, but upside down, where we do the titaniums in the exact spots you'd expect, and just get them done fast enough to keep up with the chlorine input. All right. Also, I like this input reuse at the start. That was, again, a nice symbol save. All right. And how's our last reactor dealing? Oh, look at that line on blue. That's nice. Definitely some simple optimization happening here. We were worried about that tie break. Okay, boom. boom. And here's our last one, and it only takes 4 cycles to get over. Very nice. And well-timed output from blue. So this is, what was this, 8, that must be a 6, 12, 14 cycle loop. No, that can't be right. 16 cycle loop, I mean. Yeah, of course. With the 2 perfect flip-flop stalls. Sir comments that there's also a brief iodine shortage in the 600s. Maybe that was why ieeemayyv did what they did. I see. If you remove 3 iodines, you get an extra shortage at 600s. Fair enough. 600 cycle mark. All right. But yeah, this solution is like super. This last reactor is really pretty. Very clean and low latency. And this is going to be good for 105 symbols. Is this our lowest symbol count on all of the? Yeah, I think so. Of all the ones we'll see for these 600s, and this will be at 681. So a huge 35 symbol save over on the tiebreak over ieeemayyv. So well done, Andy, on optimizing those symbols. You were clearly aiming for that, and it paid off. ToughThought with 16 cycles per output. Ooh, yeah, this is an interesting one. So we're going to create a funny shape in the second reactor. This is standard stuff. This is... Okay, this is an interesting way. Red's going to come in and push it a little bit further and then leave. I wonder if this saved latency. Let me just compare this to Andy's 1 sec. Because Andy had a very clean go and then step aside once just to get the timing right on the number of input and bonk commands, or to fit enough input and bonk commands in, I guess. Yeah, because you can't just do input bond while blue's on the grab, so you have to input early and then bond. But when's our first output? It's on cycle 13-ish. Drop on 13, out on 14. And what is ToughThought doing here? This is unexpected, at least. Red assists. Blue still has to jog downwards, so I'm not sure why this was necessary. Oh, was it because this output command was in the way? That's why, okay. I guess. So blue dropped early, so red picked up to help. Yeah, okay, fair enough. In any case, it'll be basically the same latency, and we're going to get the standard output loop with this time, instead of doing full extra 8 loop, it'll just be, the difference will be in here where the drop goes. That's nice. And now we have our crazy second reactor where we create this shape. Not that crazy, but we'll have to do some fixing in the third reactor. So here we go. Boo, 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 boo. Here we go. Close rotate, just narrowly out of the way. We saw one like that before too, yeah. Titanium is going to go into this one, not this boron, and let's see how we deal with that. So we're going to... Oh, sorry, I've skipped a step. Yeah, this is the second reactor. What am I doing? All right, here we go. Sorry about that. So this is the second reactor. It's going to create this funny shape. Boom, boom. So basically just packing in the borons as fast as possible. And then red's going to hand off, receive, and throw even more boron on the end and iodine. And then we rotate out. And blue's got a couple of nice sensors here to... What was the point of these boron sensors? Hold on. Is there something funky going on here? No, there's no change. There's no sense commands in that. Let me see where these get used. In fact...
I'll explain the boron sensors.
Yeah.
The one on the right is there because the delay at the beginning is not, well, actually both of them are there because the delay at the beginning is not long enough to prevent the stalling on alpha inputs.
I see, okay.
It would have required a longer pipe leading in, and I didn't want to do that.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Instead of having a longer initial delay, the one on the right, the boron sensor on the right, enables bond pluses to occur after a stall.
Okay,
and
I see.
The one on the left actually causes an extra stall, so that the stalling is long enough later in the simulation.
So that it avoids, what, sending an output too fast, or?
it avoids the stall has to be on the left bed input alpha for it not to crash. If it stalls on the right input alpha, it'll crash. So this prevents a stall on the right input alpha.
I see. Okay, because otherwise, yeah, this one would definitely break it. Okay, I see. Okay, cool. Yeah, so you managed to, because if you, as ToughThought mentioned, if you lengthen the pipes, you're gonna reduce your latency. So ToughThought fixed that by carefully timing so that the stalls wouldn't break it, or it wouldn't stall when it doesn't need to, and it wouldn't break when it does stall when it is allowed to. And that means that you get to keep your latency saves, and let's see what the third reactor does with that. Very nice. So yeah, we created this shape where we basically packed in as many borons as we could, and now how do we deal with that? Last reactor is going to do some careful fixing. Boop, boop, boop. Once we get started, here we go. So fuse in there, and then we need to shift this entire stack downward. And then we'll debond, and after rotating, we'll be in the right spot. Boom. And then we just need to fuse in into the boron and add the titanium on the side. So getting a lot done in a fairly small loop here. 16 cycle loop, but really tightly packed. Very nice. And let's look at the latency on that last one, actually. On that chlorine command. Or last chlorine input, I should say. Here we go. So there it is. And boom, rotate, drop. Yeah, only like 4 or 5 cycles there. Very nice. Alright, and that'll be good for 676, a big 5-cycle save, thanks to that carefully timed second reactor stalls so that the pipes are really short. So yeah, and thank you for commenting that, ToughThought, because I was having trouble parsing what was going on there. You have to see exactly when it breaks to know why those are there. Alright, and next is Lazieos. I forgot to mention this is we were into the top 5 here. Andy's 5th, ToughThought's here in 4th, and now we have Lazieos, which is Lazy Comet and brookieoz with last-minute dual mutant crab turtles. Very nice. And this is a similar layout just to compare to ToughThought's here. ToughThought has this in line, so all the pipes are as short as possible. Lazieos, they only have one short jog at the top there. Not too bad. Okay, so here we go, standard first reactor, and always the question is what do we do in these second and third reactors for the latency? Oop. But no iodine pulling aside, which might have helped the solution. I think they commented in the chat.
Yeah, I just
we do brookieoz
did a thing. I posted in the chat. It would have gotten first place.
Oh no! if you had done the iodine pulls.
Yeah, you can show it at the end as a bonus solution, I guess. I'm still tinkering with it as we speak.
You're doing
actually.
it. Okay, you can send me that later, and I'll throw it in the chat eventually. Or just send it in the chat. Okay, so hold on. Let's see what you're doing. We've got the same one we saw before, where sometimes it's easier to put them on the sides, so you can fuse into from the left as you go by. I mean, this could have been
the
here.
The crazy thing is that this isn't even the fastest way we found to build a crab block. There are faster ways, but simply we would just hit that chlorine shortage because it just wouldn't work.
I see. What's the faster way, just avoiding this jog downwards, or?
It basically makes it makes a square and then extends it to make you have basically a 2 rows of 3 in a row of 2, and the row of 2 you just bonded to it titanium to titanium, and you have to move one of them later. So it's very, very compact in the input zone, but because it requires chlorine like twice within like 2 cycles of each other, it just never worked.
Yeah, you'd rather have them far apart so that any variances in the delays doesn't affect you too much. Yeah. Okay. Because that was, just to clarify, that was here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 maybe cycles of gap you have. So if there's a longer gap than 6, you're gonna get delayed. And you said the other construction method would be even tighter. something like
The other construction method did a rotate fuse and then moved up and fused again. So it was like 1 or 2 cycles.
Yeah, which would definitely mess with your variance. Okay, I see. Anyway, so we built the shape, and let's see how we did last reactor. We've got blue stalling to deal with the delay without causing too many symbols, I guess. And that might... Does this come into play later if anything gets stalled, or no? Like with ToughThought solution? Is that ever going to get used again?
No, we were just like last minute. Like I was like, "Hey, there's like a crap ton of flip flops."
Oh, just really symbol save? Sure.
Can we just use the sensor?
I appreciate that.
Can we please use the sensor?
That sensor ended up being able to save cycles because Red had a stall on the input beta anyway because of how Reactor 2 works. We managed to get over the cycle 380 chlorine shortage by making Reactor 2 slightly faster than Reactor 1, but we started a little bit later, so there's a little bit of buildup of chlorine.
Yeah, a little buildup here. Okay, I see.
Right, so when you get to around cycle 670-ish,
you can see that slowly disappear.
If we had a perfectly matched R1 and R2, no, it wouldn't crash. It's that you'd have extra chlorine atoms stuck in the pipe. This way, there's no extra chlorine stuck in that pipe, and it shortens latency.
If we upped this to 80, I assume this would crash because it would run out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
not to mention, there was some really good latency optimization with this, where I told Brookie to move the reactors closer together so we had less pipes. And surprise, that saved latency.
Yeah. Well.
It's always a surprise when the pipes matter.
It didn't save latency when the reactors were perfectly matched, but with the when we made Reactor 2 faster, we needed a little bit more buffer pipe to ensure that Reactor 1 doesn't crash at the very beginning, which is why the pipes are like this right now.
I see.
And when you're doing a double pump like this, we had to retool the reactor so that it would always instantly output. So red will output first, so that blue can output second, so that way when blue drops, red outputs, the output is instant. That way we can grab the next reactor faster, so...
Blue drop red output?
By one cycle.
So it's red drop, blue outputs. That's why blue goes first.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
But it only matters in pairs of 2.
Yep. Yeah, you always want red to be second in general, but yeah, especially here with you have to deal with latency problems. Okay. Yeah, very nice solution, guys. You feel free to try that iodine optimization and send that. And
I did. I just finished messing around with it. That the one that I posted is going to be the best one, I think.
Okay. I'll grab that at the end. So now we have in second place we have Sir with 4 cycle sort. This is going to be the same. And this one does have the iodine optimization, which Lazieos were missing. And this will be pulling aside 2 of them to deal with the chlorine shortage. And
deal with the iodine shortage.
Iodine shortage. Yeah, being my molecule atoms backwards. All right. Wait, iodine shortage, really? Shouldn't it be?
If you go too fast, you hit an iodine shortage.
Right, because you get all the chlorines. Am I getting this backwards? Okay. I might actually have to delete this, but I don't want to mess around too much with that to understand what's going on. But yeah, I can definitely believe that if you get 5 of one thing in a row, you're going to have a problem. Okay. Here we go. So this is our boron reactor. We're going to do this kind of standard shape with the titaniums, and the last one will come in only 3 more cycles to drop it. And 5 cycles to output, but yeah. Then how do we do in this reactor? Timed for the first input via syncing. And where's our last iodine? There. Drop, grab, rotate. So it's really the iodine pulling aside that I think is doing the big heavy lifting in the latency saves here. Because this latency save this latency in this reactor is pretty good, but it's not anything too different from what we've seen before.
Yeah, the second reactor is actually magic because it's a 50-cycle loop, and it self-stalls on the input alpha for blue so that I basically ignore the chlorine shortage.
Okay, sorry, could you repeat that? You said it's...
So here on blue, you see how it's not the input alpha?
Yeah.
So by pulling out 2 iodines, the timing works out kind of auto-magically so that that input alpha stalls perfectly anytime there's a shortage.
Wow. Okay. So let's see if we can find one. I mean, it'll be hard to see, but
Yeah,
you would have a cycle count? Sorry, 370?
Yeah, the standard-ish 370.
Okay. Yeah, 300 plus latency, whatever. Okay. There it is. Yeah, so there's, okay, so this stalls once here, and, or it just stalls as needed here, and the sinks fix that. Yeah.
And because the third reactor is also on a 15-cycle loop, they eventually catch up to sync up at 40 outputs.
Right, because this one's 16, so yeah. Let's see if we can see the buildup in the pipes. There must be buildup, right? Yeah, there. You can see it slowly disappear. Very nice. Okay. This will be 126 symbols, and this is, yeah, this is going to symbol tiebreak Lazieos, because no double pumping. And that'll be good for second place. Very nice. Flexo is in first place, so congratulations, Flexo. And the solution title is Better with Sinks. I guess lamenting the fact that sinks were necessary, but they do make the, what do you call them, stall issues manageable. And we're going to pull aside again. 2 iodines seems to be the magic number for the right number of iodines to pull out. Some people did 3, but top 2 solutions seem to prefer this. Alright, so standard sorting, and where's our second reactor? This is going to be a double pump, but I do not believe it had to tiebreak anyone, so that won't cost anything. Here we go. Okay, with some amount of sinks to fix the, again, the input stalls at the start, and, or the variable input stalls depending on randomness. Okay, and here's our last chlorine comes in, and just a standard dropping out. So this reactor is like pretty similar to everything we've seen before, with sinks after important inputs is all to fix the latency or lag issues. And then this reactor is actually a, what is this, 8, 10, 11 cycle loop plus sinks. So it can be potentially very fast. And do we see a build-up from that? Well, let's show what it's doing first. Here we go. Oh yeah, this one's really tight from the last iodine, I believe. So here we go. Bond, input, grab, rotate, drop. So yeah, maybe 3 cycles in there between the input and the actual output command. Very nice. And then, yeah, this reactor will be able to catch up whenever it can or needs to.
I will say I'm slightly surprised. There's 1 cycle of latency in this. Because
can it be saved?
you can save a cycle latency here if you know the timing coming out of the previous reactor. You can do
the stall on blue.
No, you do red input alpha, blue grabs on the very first cycle. Then when you do the handoff, you actually gain a cycle because then you can drop output with red on drop and blue on output.
Yeah,
so
that does
save 2 cycles.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's inputting, then it would hit the sink, and then blue would
Oh, yeah.
It's 2 cycles. You just have to time it properly.
Right. I wouldn't recommend doing it on stream. It takes
it
a while.
might be tricky to get the timing right. But okay, yeah, no, I believe that because usually you want blue to be doing this first grab like this with some amount of timing instead of having to wait on the sink after an input, because that's basically 1 cycle spent on a sink. Yeah, but the optimization with the iodines and the pipes being exactly straight lines everywhere, I guess, is the big difference here. I'm trying to compare. It's really hard for me to tell like why these latency saves are happening. These pipes are straight 2. Where are the 2 cycles that Flexo? Oh, so for context, this is 671. And I'm trying to figure out where the 2 cycles came from. It's really hard with these random.
One of them is probably from the actual first reactor. The sorting is dropping it a little bit earlier, so let's say it's due like 1 or 2 cycles.
Okay, drop out and drop out, sure. And in SIRS, what did we have?
I don't know. It's hard to tell with these.
Yeah, it really is. Oh yeah, here there's an extra 1 to the drop. Okay, so this, how did this happen? So we have, it's because we're going sideways instead of up at the start, I believe. And that allows it to drop the iodine further over, but in Flexo's solution, it's not necessary to have the iodine that far over. So it's better to have the latency be shorter at the start. So here we go straight upwards instead of going all the way sideways, I think. then we drop one column further to the left and one cycle sooner. And that's fine because this reactor is double pumped and can reach. Flexo mentions, in the first reactor, my blue Waldo follows red by only 3 cycles. That's another thing, is how close are the Waldos to each other. That might be 1 cycle save compared to other solutions. How different is that? Yeah, I don't know. I apologize for this one, but I'm not very good at analyzing latency, so this video's analysis is a little bit on the shady side. How far are they? Yeah, so here's red with the standard timing, only jogged by 2. And blue is 3 behind, as you claim. And is Sir actually any different? No, I don't think so, yeah. So I think it's more the last reactor's latency was pretty good, and it had the same 2 Iodine save as Sir, so it saved 1 cycle there and 1 cycle maybe in the second reactor on the latency. But yeah, it's really hard to analyze. But anyway, congratulations, Flexo. This is very impressive, especially this last reactor is just very clean. I like it. But yeah, I guess like everyone who found the Iodine save, congratulations. Everyone who didn't, don't worry about it. That's randomness is confusing. And yeah, this level did end up becoming a latency fight because it's a little on the simpler end. I didn't want to overwhelm people with the number of things you can do with a throughput unlimited production level. So this one, it really was all about that first reactor's throughput. After that was mostly latency. But this is kind of a good introduction to, I don't think we've had a tournament puzzle that use this yet, if I'm not crazy. All right, and next we have some fun solutions. Or we haven't had a tournament puzzle any year, let alone this one. Okay, so fun solutions, we have Sir with instructions unclear. What is, oh my. All right, we have, oh my. Let me guess. Boron's going to the last reactor. We're doing a lot of work with these, so we're probably breaking them all the way down to hydrogen, I guess? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, we're...
I did give you guys splitters for no reason.
So we're making the boron ring with the...
oh god, okay. And then using the boron to create... No, we're not creating...
Yeah, we're using the boron to create iodine and chlorine.
Oh, we are?
Well,
okay, how do you do this? How did you do this in so few? Okay, just a... Oh, you have spare hydrogens coming in, don't you, somehow?
Nope.
No? How'd you do this? All right, well, let's see.
Stick a pause so you can just speed up right to there, because it'll take a while.
Oh, okay. Where should I put the pause? You'll know better than that.
Put the pause in the third reactor sometime after it gets the actual first input beta.
Yeah, okay. All right, so we've eventually, through some amount of mess, made boron in the first reactor and second reactor. Boron ring. And then, how do we do this? Boom, 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 boom. Oh. Yeah, okay. And then splitting it. And that is just almost correct. 17. Is that... No, 23. What do we do here?
Well, that's your titanium.
Yeah, that's your titanium, but how do you deal with this 23 and turn that into... Oh, 53. Okay, that's not so bad. Yeah, fair enough. So I guess the basic idea being you're doing multiples of 5, 22, and 53 is or 3 and 2 is a convenient number. You just have to find a split that will make them be suffixes of 2 and 3. Fair enough. All right. So I don't know. Let's shut off just because why not? We'll go at how fast can we go? What's the main idea here? Yeah, we're
probably.
Oh my god. Okay,
Sense
hold on.
everything and toss it into the reactor to be split if it's not hydrogen.
Yikes. Okay, yeah, split everything down, and then throw it away if it's not hydrogen. Okay, so we just turn everything to hydrogen. Fair enough. Yikes. Yep. All right, we're not going to...
It senses what it inputted initially, so it knows how many hydrogen stalls to go through before it inputs another one, so that way I don't have to have, like, miles of pipes.
Right. Let's just show this a bit, but I'm not going to wait for that to do the whole thing, but yeah, it checks how many hydrogens it got. Eventually it knows it got enough hydrogens, and then it outputs... What was the output over here? Oops, I skipped it. Okay, here we go. And one more. There we go. What is red actually doing over here? I'm not sure I understand what's going on with the red counting, actually.
So it's counting
it counts 13 hydrogens, sure.
Times, and then one more.
But what does it do when it finishes counting?
Inputs another one.
Where's the input command? Oh, here it is. Okay, yeah. I see. All right, fair enough. That's pretty nuts. And we do the raw splitting to hydrogens and then building up with the mantleweave. Is the correct amount of fuses. And how do we build the ring? Let's show that. We get boron and then this loop. I should just put a pause somewhere in here. Kind of hard to find a good spot because it's...
Yeah, anywhere in that loop. It goes through a full loop for every boron.
Yeah. But we'll just show from the, you can see it kind of moved it upwards, it moved it sideways, and then we're done. Yep. All right. Let's move on. And the last reactor was, we showed that boron construction. Very nice. Okay, quite a meme. And that'll come in at a large number of cycles. 33,968 cycles and 179 symbols. So you're not going to be winning any symbols tie breaks with that, obviously. Yeah, if that's what you're worried about. Oops. YellowBunny with upper input only 723k, you bastard. Alright. Yeah, no boron. Yeah, arbitrary fission fusion loop that will... Oh my goodness. There's no sensor, so it's blindly counting until it finds hydrogen? Yeah, because it knows eventually it's going to split down to hydrogen. And then it redoes the same thing, and eventually it'll count and redo the input. Yeah, this is kind of the same idea as SIRS, except without the boron. And less symbols for the first reactor, at least. And easy to understand, yeah. Right, build up hydrogen to everything we need. With red on a blind loop and blue doing a million sync counts and flip-flops. We get the gist of this, right? Use careful flip-flop counting to get the right number of syncs, and then you're done. And output the atoms blindly, and the last reactor just has to deal with that, which is actually the relatively the easier end of things. With some careful positioning of blue, I guess, so that all red has to do is do the input in bonds, I guess. Oh my goodness. We'll just put it at max speed, and yeah, you get the gist. Pull the inputs out, flip it over, I guess. So where's the flip? Yeah, there's the flip. Over here. And am I going to wait for this? Fine. How are you guys doing? How's your day? Yeah, this is a very slow max speed. Thank you once again to the Community Edition creators for speeding up the optimization, or the simulation speed, I should say. Because otherwise, this wouldn't even be viable to show 5 outputs, let alone 40. My goodness. I put these videos with chapters for every section, so I'll specifically make sure to make a chapter mark for the next fun solution, so you can skip past this in the video. All right. What did we say? 780k or so? Yeah, 730k, okay. 732, 714. Almost the 1/7 fraction numbers, but okay. YellowBunny with single Waldo 2370, much more reasonable. Single Waldo, so yeah, every reactor is single Waldo, fair enough. And then probably doing standard things otherwise. Apart from the fact that, no stick. You didn't want to build up a stick manually with only one reactor, or one Waldo and no extra input bonds. Alright, oops. Sorry, I just clicked out. There we go. Let's look at this reactor, basically doing the standard thing, sending out half only because that's easier, and then build the halves. Yep. And rotate each way, or opposite way, so you don't have to use too much space to do the flipping over. Very nice. All right, and I think that's all the fun solutions we have. Oh, let me grab the optimized solution from Lazieos with the chlorines. So is this the one you sent at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
All right, let me copy that. Oops. Yeah. Give me a second. I have to download this. Preview doesn't show everything. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, we have one more solution for you guys. So this is potentially the actual top solution if they had thought of this iodine idea. Last minute dual mutant crab turtles copy. Unfortunately, this is, of course, after the deadline, but let's show it. So pull aside 2 iodines and then do the same thing that Lazieos were doing before, which was, if to remind you, it was this. Double pumping, and now the latency timing is going to work out better. So, oh, what's this? Yeah, no, this is what we saw before. It's just going very fast.
There's some times where the iodine shortage happens, but because it always happens on red actually doesn't care about waiting on an input alpha, and it's always in the middle, so it doesn't care about the last end latency. So it magically works.
Very good. All right. So yeah, this is the lowest that we, as far as we know, this level could have gone, was 669. But you know, every player's team solution comes in with different ideas, and sometimes you have to combine a bunch of different players to get the right idea, which is why teams have been so effective. But yeah.
I suspect that the actual limit for this puzzle might be slightly lower than
Slightly lower, yeah, maybe.
Just very slightly. Just by lower latency in the third reactor or so.
If someone finds 666, send it to me. All right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The latency optimization is very complicated in this, so yeah. I could definitely believe we're missing a few. All right. And with that, I think we're done the video. So unless I'm missing anything, I will see you next week. And yeah, have a good one. And this has been SpaceChem Round 5.